What? And we're on. What's up, everybody? My name is Dani, and thank you so much for joining the Light Side. Today, we have Zac Stoll talking with us. He's a very good friend of mine. I had the opportunity to work with him a couple times over this last awesome year of moving to Colorado. He's a fitness business entrepreneur and just somebody who I know in every area of his life just likes to get better. So today we're going to be talking about maybe some entrepreneur stuff, just how to get better, especially in this time during quarantine. Um, and yeah, we're just going to take it from there. So, Zac, what's up?
What's up, Danny? I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this since we chatted.
Yeah, dude, me too. And to be honest with you, you actually tipped me off to doing this. Like you lit a fire under my ass for whatever reason. And I was like, I have to do podcasting now, whether it be with you or whatever. I need to be talking to people. So I'm actually excited to tell you on the show now that this is kind of your fault.
Oh, I'll take all the blame for that. I do remember us chatting about it when I saw you were taking action on it. I was like, what a perfect person, great audience, and just really well connected. So I felt like you could bring a lot of value to people. So good for you.
Dude, thank you so much. And
Yeah,
then that leads me to you. So let's just give like a little bit of an introduction, kind of the stuff that you've done and what you're doing now, just to get everybody kind of caught up to speed on Zac.
yeah. I've been in like the fitness industry my whole life. Started off as a trainer, and I really felt like in love with like the business side of things. Fitness is like my passion. I love to take care of myself, but also like I think like a lot of people, we all want to make money. So kind of learned the ins and out of business and flowed through that and went from coaching to managing to do my own thing and to now like helping gym owners all across the country like grow and scale their business so they can have abundance in their life, from like financial freedom to time freedom with their family. So that is in a nutshell what I do and how I even got to there.
Dude, that's amazing. And it's so cool that you're on the other side of the business, of the fitness business stuff now. You're not so much in it, but you're helping from the outside, helping people actually grow their stuff.
Correct. Yes. And I mean, that comes from not wanting to be tied to a gym and wanting some freedom of my own. So I just sat there and thought about it and like, what can I do to work from home, still be inside of the fitness industry and use my knowledge? And that's what I came up with.
Dude, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect for you. And it's very much like a go-getter attitude. Like you almost have to pull that out of people. You have to pull that go-getter attitude out of people so they take action on what you're giving them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you can come from this, like just from like the bodybuilding world and just even from what you do right now, like you have to have structure, right? And like that's what we get to lay out for people a lot of the times is as a coach, as somebody that, somebody comes to for advice, it's laying out the structure and make sure that they follow through on it at the end of the day.
Okay, and question about structure. It's something that I'm learning. I'm not totally great with it yet, and it's funny how we have to just adapt as entrepreneurs
Oh,
because
yeah.
everything's changing. Like technology changes, Facebook changes, so everything that we do kind of changes. Like, what are some key structures that you set up for? Well, let's go business first, and then I want to come to you
Yeah.
in your life because I know it's structured. So let's go business gym owners. What's like a couple things?
Yeah, so I think like in business, you have to understand what you're bringing to the table, right? So like, what's your product? Who's it designed for? And then once you have all that figured out, right? Like if you're shipping something, like you have all the kinks worked out, there's going to be three things that are going to really make your business thrive, right? So you need to understand how to market and bring that product to the table, right? You also need to understand sales, right? Like in the fitness industry, you're going to sell somebody into like changing their life. And then the third part is, I think, fulfillment, and delivering on your promise of what you sold to those people. So those are the three things I would structure my business around. Is once I have my product made, is like how am I going to market it, how am I going to sell it, and how am I going to fulfill at a very high level so I can keep these people for a long term. So when you think about it on the fitness business side, on the marketing side is what core product or offer do you want to bring to the table, and then how do you present that to a person. The sales process is just something that's really repeatable that walks a person from point A to point B to turning them into a customer, to simplify it. And then obviously, again, fulfilling is just like doing exactly what you told that person you're going to do. I think a lot of people are good at sales, they're even good at marketing, but they really suck on the fulfillment end and their business really tanks. So that is the difference between the good and great businesses. And I think that's the strategy I would focus on if I was inside the fitness business or just anywhere else.
Yeah, anywhere else, right? And what I'm learning now doing business stuff on my own is that it's actually very similar to your own fitness. Like the parallels between me competing and me being an entrepreneur are incredible because I'm like like, and I'm sure you can relate to this, and it's just like to your own fitness. So fitness and business are super paralleled in that, like, you almost have to believe in what you don't see yet. So it's like working towards something that isn't actually tangible in your hands yet. And it's like believing, persevering, like having a learning mindset, not just like having one failure come and then just quitting the whole thing. um,
Well, for sure.
yeah, what do you think about like fitness and business being similar?
Oh, they're so similar. I mean, you're gonna get beat up every single day. Like if you're in business, you're probably doing calls, you're out searching for clients, and even if you're good at marketing and you go get leads, like not every lead's like the highest quality lead that you would hope for. You're gonna hear no a lot of times. So you need to have a structure in such a way too that like you have success stories you can look back on and remind yourself why you're doing this, right? It's like when you're competing, you get hungry, you get sore, like, and you have to do this stuff day in and day out. And that's the same thing with business. Like you have to understand why you're doing it and have a really big vision for yourself so you can continuously persevere every single day. I mean, I think comparing fitness and business is like, it's the most relatable thing. I mean, obviously we've been in this space, but to me, it's the most relatable thing possible when you talk about business because you're going to get beat up once in a while.
Yeah, I like that. You're gonna get beat up, and you just have to
Yep.
just take it, man. Just take it like a
Yep.
man and just learn from it. Like, why did you get hit in the face? Could you have done this? And then it's like, then knowing how to move with the punches, and it's all learning and growing, right? And I'm very new in my business endeavors, and I have learned so freaking much
Oh yeah.
from like even just the messaging, the tiny little messaging in my Instagram post, and how does that trickle into your signature offer or whatever it is. And I can tell you that having a business coach or a mentor or somebody like that in your corner who can have an outside look, it is absolutely paramount and which I think it's great that you're doing what you're doing, because having had a business coach and having you as my friend to come and spit some ideas with is incredibly important, because when you're in the business and it's your baby, you're a little bit more emotionally tied to it, like you're attached in a different way, right?
Hmm.
So what have you seen with other businesses?
Yeah, so man, you hit the nail on the head is finding a coach, like somebody who has been there before that can walk you through it. And if you can't afford a coach right away, you need to be a consumer of knowledge, right? You need to go after books, you need to go after podcasts, but and it doesn't need to be general, it needs to be specific to you and what you're doing. There's a lot of people in your market that, again, let's say like you can't find a coach or like you just can't afford a coach right now, right? You got to get your baby off the ground. I'm sure they're giving out podcasts, they're giving away free info. And then, so that really helps you out because it allows you to understand like what did these people do to get from point A to point B where you want to be, right? A coach is great. And then they have like 1,000-foot overview of your business to where it's like they're not emotionally attached to it, right? Like it's not how they make their income. It's not like they don't stress about it all day long. What they do is they come in, they look at it from a third party perspective and say like, hey, like emotions unattached, this is the right move for you to make to get to where you want to be. So yeah, it's just like anything. Your highest level coach or athletes, think about LeBron James. He has somebody who helps him with his fitness side, with his business side, for basketball. I mean, they have coaches all around them. I think it's the best move you can make.
Dude, I do too. And now after hiring coaches, I want a coach for every single aspect of my life. I want a worthiness coach, a money mindset coach, a fitness coach. Like I don't, and it's so helpful to friend up and to be with people that are better than you, because not only they like push you to do stuff and to get out of your comfort zone. Whereas if you're the best person in the room, you're not always the one progressing. You're kind of the one teaching and pulling everybody else up.
Oh, for sure. And that can be draining. Um,
Yeah.
it's great to give people your energy, but it's even better to have somebody who feeds into you once in a while too, right? It's all about having that balance.
Yes, and that is super important. Um, so talking about you being a business coach, what are some like, I guess, mistakes that you've seen businesses make or that you've made yourself that maybe you could help people get a couple steps ahead of them so that they don't do the same thing?
Yeah, great question. I think number one, and one of the first mistakes I ever made was having a business partner right away. Like, and I think they can be a great thing down the road, but it's a pretty tough relationship to work out with people. And you're splitting all the money two ways. You're trying to split the work up two ways, and sometimes like it just boils down to like not everything can be split, and one person might care more than the other. So the first thing you should do is really look at your business before you try to ask somebody else to come in like a partner and be like, okay, do I need a partner or can I hire somebody else to do that task, right? And then once you discover that and figure that out, that's one key thing. Just from looking at it from everybody I've coached and seeing business partners, I've seen a lot of breakups. I've had we had to split ways just because like um intention, it's not even intention, it's like focus and where you want to go in life divides it, right? Another mistake I think is like you get too emotionally invested into your people, which is a good thing. It's great to care about the people you have, but you become more of a buddy than a boss or a friend or a leader. And then, you don't do them any favors, right? You don't hold them accountable. You don't push them like you should. And then you're really failing that person, not bringing them to their A game. And I think the last mistake a lot of people can make inside of the fitness industry is not doing high ticket sales because it is a very condensed industry where you want to serve a lot of people at a lower margin. That means you're going to do a lot more work for a lot less money, and your ad spend, your payout, just everything is minimized. Whereas if you focus on high ticket sales and getting more from the person, one, they value the product more because they put more into it, and then two, you have more wealth to give around to a lot of people. And at the end of the day, everybody's happier that way. So I think those are the three things I could really give some advice on right away: is focus on those, and then it should be good.
Okay. All right. So so far what I'm hearing is like business partner, maybe not right out of the gate. See if you can outsource before you have someone jump on into and then you try to split everything and figure that whole thing out, because that can get messy and confusing. And especially sometimes when you do it with friends, now you're on a friend level, but you're trying to be on a business level. And sometimes that's not super easy either. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the other thing was high ticket. That is something I struggle with to a crazy amount because but that's like a self-worth thing. So that's like a
Mm-hmm.
mindset situation. But and this is what I'm learning. Like my first course launch, I gave some discounts and I lost probably $3,000 because I was trying to be nice and trying to, whatever. And now that I'm learning, I'm like, man, I lost $3,000 just because whatever the reason may be. And then high ticket stuff. And, that's something that I'm also learning now too, is that people don't have as much skin in the game when you charge them $250 a month versus $1,500 a month.
Yep, bingo. That's the biggest thing right there with high ticket. And you hit it on the head with worth. Like I talk with a lot of people, and inside of facilities we coach high ticket sales, but with high ticket sales comes a bigger package bundle, right? There's more value you're going to deliver. And so sometimes you just have to sit back, unemotionally attached from your product and look at it. What am I bringing to the table? Right? If I'm selling fitness and I give somebody nutritional coaching that's simple to follow, that also will allow them to lose weight, but teach them knowledge that they can use for the rest of their life, like how much is that actually worth to somebody, right? Because that's their whole life they're paying for in a short time frame. Add fitness into it, teach them how to work out, how to do it properly and safely, and then hold them to a high level of accountability so they build that habit. Like if you told me in 6 months I can go from being very unhealthy and on the risk of like diabetes, cardiovascular problems, and like 6 months later I'm in shape, I'm healthy, and I can teach this to my family, like that's almost invaluable. So you just got to look at it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Like, what is this? What are you investing in? It's not just a
Yeah.
payment a month to a trainer. This is an investment. And that's something that I learned with my business coach. I invested more in that program that I have in my bodybuilding coaches. But you know what? I have a course I launched and I made, a couple $1,000s. And that was more money than I had ever made in a span of 3 months.
Yeah.
But when I paid that money, I was like, you're fucking right. I'm going to show up every single day and go through all this because I had to take out a credit card to do this damn course. So, but that's a lot of skin in the game for me, and that means I showed up to every single call, I did everything I was supposed to, and I followed through. And I just think that's really important, even if people are hiring like a trainer, paying in like $50 a month, where if you charge 300, people are going to show up every day for themselves because their money's on the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you spend more money, you do yourself a bigger favor, right? Like you just notice if your coach was cheaper, you would have had a lot less skin in the game. You might have like rescheduled once in a while. You might have pushed some things to the side, but you're like, no, like I got to be able to make payments. I got to be able to launch at a certain time. And it really held you accountable into a great timeline. I mean, most Americans spend like 40 hours a week making money or like chasing money or, trying to gain more wealth. So like forcing them to spend that on something is actually like you're doing your business a favor and you're doing them a favor.
Right. And then the law of exchange comes back, right? So then now the universe is going to work with you and for you. When you put out, you get back. So if you put out this much money and you invest in yourself and in your business, you're going to get it back. And it's just like trusting in that and trusting in yourself to follow through.
Yeah, it comes down to faith, right? Like, are you going to
Mm.
execute? And faith and belief, right? Those are some of the two biggest things that'll change somebody's life, because like belief comes in like everything. belief and faith is like, everything you're doing is going to serve you in the long run, but it's not going to serve you immediately. So being able to hold on to those and have those and do the daily actions that lead to it, I think that's the difference between the people who win and people who lose.
Yes, yes. And that's even just now back to fitness. Like that's believing in the body that's going to be there in 6 months to do the cardio today that sucks and it's uncomfortable and you feel not great about yourself. But you have to have faith in the process and in your ability to work and follow through that in 6 months, this is all going to be so worth it.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's again, and that's why fitness and business are like so tied together. Like your actions now are going to impact you 60 days from now, right? Not 60 seconds from now. So that's why I love it. It's a
Good.
great thing.
And now, what are some successes that you've seen businesses do, or that you've coached people that have really been helpful? So we went over the mistakes, kind of. What are some good like things?
Listening. Wow, like just listening and like so when you hire a coach and you go get a good coach, right? Like obviously you want to try to find somebody who's been around longer than you have or like been more successful than you have, like who has been there. And then listen, right? Like sometimes, they're going to change your whole processes up. They're going to, make you probably do some things that are uncomfortable. Like for you, it might be high ticket sales, right?
Oh,
But they're coaching you on that for a reason because they've done it time and time again and they understand like, hey, this is like actually what you need to do. So listening and executing, I think that those are the biggest things. If you get a coach, like you just have to follow the game plan. And at the end of the day, if what they tell you did not work, but you gave it your full 100% effort, guess what? You also learned like what doesn't work, right? So the next time you go for a coach, if they coach like in any similar way or they don't bring anything different to the table, that's not the coach for you, right? I think a lot of people, if you're in the fitness space, like I know a lot of these online coaches, I know a lot of the entrepreneurs, and they talk about that a lot of the times. Is like sometimes you got to sort through the BS once in a while to find out what really works. So I think that would be my biggest bit of advice is like when you listen and you execute, you're either going to learn or you're going to win. So either way, that's what I would say.
I love that. I love that so much because I noticed that with my own business and with bodybuilding. Like when I did what my coach said to do full out and I didn't cheat on my diet or do anything, I won. And when I didn't, I learned what formula I need to take out and add in something new. So I love the parallels there. Um,
Yeah.
and now I want to segue into like mindset stuff because I know you gave me Think and Grow Rich. You have been
Yeah.
somebody that I could talk mindset stuff with all day. So let's talk about some mindset stuff. Like what are your favorite practices or your biggest lessons? Like let's go into what makes Zach Zach.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So the first thing I'll say is like anything that I speak from today is going to come from books. It's going to come from podcasts. It's going to come from people like I really admire and have, kind of not even put on a pedestal, but allowed to coach me and almost brainwash me into success. So I think the first thing is routine and just structuring your day, right? And sticking to that structure. Again, that comes down to discipline. But one of my favorite practices right now, aside from reading and seeking knowledge on a daily basis, and I think you're going to appreciate this, is meditation. I've gotten into this for about 2 months now, and I've been working really, really hard. It's not it's nearly as easy as you would think it would be, but it's extremely beneficial when you look into the benefits of it. So I would recommend that people meditate at least one time a day, um, 10, 15 minutes. At first it might even be 5 minutes, but why don't we just chat a little bit about meditation, what it's done for you, what it's done for me, and what it can do for the body and the person.
I am so happy you said meditation. This has been my favorite. I want to be a meditation teacher now. Like I love it and it's helped me so much and I just noticed like the other day I was going to get angry about something but I fucking kept my cool and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, it's working. And it's so funny. Meditation is like, you can feel different right after. Like you feel a little bit more clear, more connected. Everything's kind of, your nervous system is calmed down. But like when you really see the effects are like when you're around your family and when you're tested and when you're poked and when you're anxious and when you're fearful. And then when you don't handle it the same way that you used to, you handle it a little bit more consciously and you're
Hmm.
able to clearly move through things. Like it's more of a response than it is a knee jerk reaction, an emotional snap at somebody. It's like, wait, am I gonna feed into this right now, or am I gonna? Um, so I
Yeah.
love meditation so much, and I'm just getting started, but I'm so happy. So tell me about your stuff because this is, you said 2 months you've been going hard.
Yep, 2 months I've been going hard. I mean, I've heard about meditation for quite a while. I've had a lot of people trying to prod me that way. But I fell upon Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you've ever heard of him. And Dr. Joe is awesome. And I really got into his book. So I started reading his book and I just started realizing what was going on with a lot of people. And he breaks down the science of it so you can truly understand it. And the first thing I've noticed from meditation is how often I go unconscious throughout the day. And I fall into a familiar past and a predictable future because I live in the same emotions and the same thought patterns on a daily basis. And when you just realize like how quickly you drift into unconsciousness and just go about your day and how your body's wired to think and act in a certain way, it really like it hits you. It's like, wow, like this is the reason like I am the way I am and my life is the way it is. So it's been one of the biggest takeaways. But like what it can do from you on a mental level, on a healthy level, and like what it's going to allow you to be able to create in your future is super, super huge. So that's my biggest takeaway from it. And I think what I want people to realize is when you meditate, it's about becoming as present as possible and as whole as possible, right? They talk a lot about going into the unit field or like, it's a lot to do with quantum physics. And so when you do it, when you practice, understand like you're not going to be great at it right away. You're going to have what I call monkey mind. It's going to race and it's going to be very hard to clear that mind. And, after about a month and a half, I finally had what I would call like my first euphoric experience from meditating where I felt super good and super calm. But, I worked my ass off to really get there. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to have to do. And so starting off with a guided meditation and, just reading and learning about it is going to be one of the best things to keep that practice up.
Yes, dude, I'm so proud of you and I'm so excited because I know it's not like after you haven't done it for so long and everybody's telling you to, you almost have like a little bit of a resistance to it, sort of. So I know that even sitting down to start to get disciplined with it was also, you're almost like overcoming sort of like a little bit of the ego by actually going into this practice now. And I'm really happy for you. And I love how you said unconscious. Like what I learned about meditation is, or being present, um, it's like a practice of being in the present moment. Like it's like an
For
extreme
sure.
practice of being absolutely present so that when you get up from your meditation seat and you go out about your day, you are more practiced at being present. And
Hmm.
when you're more present, you're not unconsciously like reacting or eating or getting pissed off in traffic. It's like you're more in the moment. Like, wait a minute, am I gonna act unconsciously about this or I'm gonna be conscious?
For sure. For sure. I think and another thing to go along with meditation, I notice you do this, and this is something I do. Actually have my notebook right beside me. Is a gratitude list. And that's an elevated emotion and that attracts a higher frequency and that allows you to bring more good into your life, right? When you want to talk about quantum physics.
Yes.
So like I like to go into a gratitude list right before I do my meditation. So like I can easily feel what that emotion, that elevated emotion feels like as I, go into that meditation. I want to continuously feel that. So that's another little tip I think that will even keep you from getting angry in traffic or angry at whatever it may be. Is like you just got to sit back and realize sometimes you're super blessed and like life could be way worse, and when you realize that and you can stay conscious on that, I think your life just gets so much better. um, and it's just such a simple thing, very hard to execute on though, and that's what a lot of people need to realize too.
Yes, it's simple, but it's hard to, and I love the gratitude practice. And I'm so happy. I'm glad you brought that up because I know you and I went back and forth with a gratitude train for a little while. And like, if you
Hmm.
believe in the law of vibration, right? So like attracts like. If you wake up in the
Hmm.
morning and you're pissed off, you're going to attract more things to be pissed off about. Whereas if you start the morning off in a attitude of gratitude, by law of attraction and vibration, the universe will give you more things to be grateful for. It's just a matter
Hmm.
of being open to see it and to experience it.
For sure, absolutely. You got to feel it, right? Um, so one of my favorite speakers all the times, he says like you cannot give what you aren't, and like you can't give what you don't have, right? So you can't get gratitude if you aren't grateful, right? Like you can only get what you're feeling at that very moment, and that's when I realized how scary it is to be unconscious all day long. So like if anybody can take anything from this podcast, it's just like even setting reminders on your phone, whatever it may be. So you can just like, bring yourself back to, hey, what are my thought patterns like? What am I doing right now? How am I feeling? And then like, how can I change it to have a different future, so to speak, right? Because like your body gets hardwired to these things. So if you want a book or if you want something to read to understand like really what we're talking about is Dr. Joe Dispenza. becoming supernatural, talking about how it affects the brain, how it affects even your genetics. It's a wild thing. So I would recommend, that book, and he can explain everything way better, obviously, because he's dedicated his whole life to it. But it's a great starting point for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it is a very real thing. Like you said, your genetic, like epigenetics, like the meditation and doing certain things in our life have the ability to turn on and off our genes, which is insane. And that's like crazy to think about. And people think that they're like, oh, this is a genetic disorder. And then their personal development stops there because they think that. And while some things might be, there
Hmm.
are some things in our life that I do believe that we can change through meditation, through diet, through exercise, through like doing the right human things.
Yep. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the placebo effect, it should be real enough and should be proof enough for everybody that like we're in way more control than what we think, right? So with the placebo effect, usually they take two groups. Group A gets a real pill, group B gets a sugar pill, right? And this is where it comes down to faith and belief. If you have faith and belief that this pill is going to make a difference for you, your body like reacts to that and makes the changes necessary to go ahead and heal yourself. So, I mean, I feel like understanding the placebo effect and understanding what the mind can do, it opens up your mind to a lot of what's possible, and makes doing practices like this and having faith and belief a lot easier. But again, making it easier and doing it every single day is way different. And, we all fall short. So can't beat yourself up on that either.
Right, right, and that's part of the practice.
Yeah.
Is like practicing non-attachment or no judgment or no expectations. It's just sort of like being fluid and like water. And I think that's also something that meditation sort of teaches you is to be like water, like Bruce Lee. Do
Yeah.
you use any sort of meditation app or anything like that?
Yeah. So when I first started off, so I've been jock riding Dr. Joe, just to be like, fully transparent, because I didn't know too much about the space. Obviously, I started learning a little bit more, but I would start with some of his guided meditations. And I was obviously reading his book. But I've now just turned to like meditation music, and he has what we call a blessings of the energy centers. So what I do is focus on each chakra point. I want to breathe into it, and I really want to feel the energy internally inside of me, and then I want to feel the energy and space around me.
Mhm,
And I'll do these in all the chakra points and try to align myself, right? And it's tough, but it gives you something to focus on, and like you don't get so monkey minded. And then after you get through all the energy centers, I think it's a lot more easier to feel a little bit calm and just go into your meditation on however long you'd like.
mhm.
So that's one of my biggest focuses: just find music I like, and focus on that. But beforehand, before I even learned about that meditation, it was just like, let me find a guided meditation. Let me just try it out.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you went with Joe because he could get through to you with meditation because he's the science. He's like, no, 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 this is why concrete, cold, hard facts
Yep.
and scientifically proven, and this is how I'm going to deliver it to you. And then, but I think that's the same for a lot of people, especially guys who are a little bit more cerebral and they need some proof. I think that that's a great way to get introduced to it.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever heard of Insight Timer?
So I believe this is what you use, correct?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So my roommate Kaz does. He uses it, and he's trying to push me onto it. So what I should do is today I haven't done my meditation, so I'll give that a try. I got you.
All right, cool. And you know what? I got a cool thing for you. And they're not like Indian. So I like the Indian mantras. I can get really Eastern with it. But the most recent stuff I've been into is called Stress Fit. I don't know. That's like the name of their channel. And it's all about law of vibration. They have binaural beats going on, and it's like,
Love it.
wow. So that's been really cool. Like change of pace for me because I'm usually with the Sanskrit mantras for a couple minutes with David G. If anybody's listening and they want somebody, I do David G. Sarah Blondin I like, but I respond better to a male voice. Hers is a little bit too soft for me, so I need a little bit. I need to be like told to meditate. So I like David G. and I like Stress Fit.
Okay.
That's
I
my
like
shit.
that.
That's
Look at
my
these
shit.
people getting all these resources. That's beautiful.
Right?
Um, what are some other habits that we can just chit chat about this? Some like other habits that you have outside of like gratitude and meditation. I know some people look at it and they can feel however they want. It's a little airy, it's a little fairy form. So like, what are some other like things that you could maybe guide somebody down to help them get more out of life?
Get them more out of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get outside.
Yes.
Get out of your mind and into your senses. Like stop thinking so much and start experiencing. Like when you go for a walk, don't just go for a walk with your dog because it's what you're supposed to do. Like look at the grass and how everything's starting to turn green here. Feel the wind on your skin and like look at the beauty. I think it's like appreciation in the moment.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm very much on this namaste kick, on this God kick, actually. And I say God, and I want to put it out there because it makes people either cringe and like
Yeah.
go within, or it makes them like expand and be like, okay, I feel enlightened about this word. And for me, I used to cringe. I used to be like, I don't even want to hear it. Like, this makes no sense to me, and you're dogmatic, and I don't even want to talk to you. But now that I understand what namaste means, and I see the light in every single person, like, I get excited to talk to somebody just so I can see their light. And I'm like, sometimes I don't even know what they're saying, and I'm looking at their eyes, and it's the same with like dogs and plants and animals. And like, there's a little bit of God in everything. And I think
For
when you
sure.
see that, you like, life is so different. And it's so like, ants have a little bit of God, and people might think that's silly, but like, oh, I just feel like that's such a beautiful way to look, especially at nature. Like, nature is like this divine vibration that we can connect to, because we are also nature and a
Oh, for
divine
sure.
connection. And I think that's why we feel so good when we go outside. So, like, I think it's just like taking the veil off of, and taking the labels off of everything, and just seeing it for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That can be hard for people sometimes. But yeah, when you look at everything, I think like when you want to think about God, you want to think about consciousness. It's like I think there's proof that something else higher than us exists, and it created a lot of things for us. Take an instance, like look at trees. Like some of them bear like some of our favorite fruits. It gives us oxygen. Like it's all there for us, and it's a relationship is like it's give and take because it takes carbon dioxide from us so we can have oxygen.
Yes.
Look at water. It hydrates us, keeps us alive. We are mainly it. We are a lot of oneness with nature. And I think that's also like again where meditation ties into it, and realizing how whole and how one you are with everything around you, because everything has an energy or a vibrational pattern in it. So yeah, I love that. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, and the oneness, that word has been coming up with for me so much. The oneness in everything. And like, we're all the same. Like, we're all vibrational. Like, even like right here, this, what we see, we're like 90% space. We're not even this solid matter that you see. We're atoms that have a bunch of space in between them, just like the stars. So I think when you start to see the universe as a reflection, and you see yourself in everything, and everything in yourself, it's a much different experience. And this is part of, um, almost like being in a meditative state all the fucking time. And that's,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I achieve that every day, probably not, but that's something that I strive to achieve. Like, when I'm speaking to somebody, when I'm doing dishes, when I'm doing my work, it's like being present with it. And that's also the yoga of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think consciousness comes into a huge part of it. And one of my favorite things that you said there is like reflective, like just sitting down and having a conversation with people, I can always see me in them. And it's like, wow, like, and the things like you typically notice about people that you like and dislike are typically like the things you don't like and, like about yourself. It's a very mirror thing. And, sometimes I feel like life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, sends people into me or just around me. Sometimes I'll see people with, and it's unfortunate, you'll see them with no legs, but you'll realize like, how much of your own blessings you've been blocking throughout the day. And like sometimes you need a reminder like that, like, wow, I'm just so lucky to be able to walk right now. Look at this person's attitude that they have with a life that, appears to be way worse than mine because they can't feel the ground beneath them, anything like that. So I think staying conscious and, just being aware of everything around you is so huge, but it's also, again, so hard to do.
Yeah, it is. And I think there are levels to consciousness, and to, you know, like, we're at this level, and we understand maybe how things work. We understand that what you give, you receive. And then you understand another level of consciousness, and then you're one with everything. And then you're almost above, you're not, I don't want to say above the oneness because that's equal, but like, I think there are different levels of consciousness that we can reach. And I think that as we reach that within ourselves, with our practices, with our meditations, with things like that, like, we unconsciously vibrate higher for the people around us, and we raise their consciousness without them even realizing it. And I think
Hmm.
that's one of the coolest things about developing a structure and a practice within ourselves, especially now that we're quarantined. And we can talk about this next too, is
Yeah.
like, as we are this little body of peace and this certain vibration. And I learned, this is one of my biggest honors as a yoga teacher. When I walk into that room, I am holding space for everybody in that room. And if I'm anxious and I'm in my, area, like if I'm too up there and I'm not grounded, then where's my class going to be? And
Yep.
so being able to teach yoga and the honor and privilege of that really, really brought me in tune with what space am I holding and what am I vibrating, because it's hitting other people. Even walking around Wanaka Lake, like I'll
Oh,
see, dude, it's like everywhere you go, right?
yep, absolutely. I mean, you're always going to have an impact on people. And it's important to understand that you're not going to be perfect every day, dude. Like humans, we're humans. All right. So we're naturally flawed and we're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. And it's just, again, it's important to always be conscious of the space you are holding, and what you're bringing out to other people. And if you're having a bad day, sometimes it's best to, like, if you can, stay out of the office or stay away from other people and just be with yourself and, reflect. And yes, if you got to be in that mood and you got to be in that energy, be in it, but don't try to affect other people with it. So yeah, I love that.
Cool. Dude. That's what I was talking about the other day with my friend Alona. Like we got on the phone and we were like, all right, I'm just off today or whatever. I'm like, yo, me too. And I'm like, everything was just pissing me off. And I told Ian that, and I'm like, yo, it's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but like, I'm pissing myself off right now. I'm like, it's not personal, and nothing, I didn't like lash out at him or anything, but I could feel it.
Yeah.
But I just went back to my little space in here and I was just in my mood by myself, and eventually it passed. I did some yoga and then woke up the next day and I was good. But I
Yeah.
love what you said about, if you're just feel that mood and don't even judge it. Like just let yourself be in that space, because that's where you are right at this moment. And I love Eckhart Tolle, I think, says suffering is resisting what is. So if you
Mhm.
try to resist the moment that you're in right now, you're just going to suffer even more than your bad mood. So
Yep.
just have some ice cream and chill about it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you're right. Like at the end of the day, like again, you're gonna feel like that. And if you're feeling it, like you can try to think about like why you're feeling like that and try to solve the problem, or sometimes you can just let it ride, right? Sometimes like a headache, sometimes they just don't go away until you stop thinking about them. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden you're without a headache, right? And I think that can be the same thing with moods. And I think that quarantine, like what we're facing right now, one, it's a crazy time. And I think like the coronavirus, in my opinion, has a more potential to damage somebody mentally than it does physically right now, because they're without work, they're without structure, they're without routine. They're worried, they're anxious, they don't know what's to come, which is totally reasonable. And I think that's where, like, taking control of your mindset and coming up with a structure right now is going to be really key for a lot of people to kind of, just keep their calm and, get through this weird time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So what are some things that you're doing at home to keep yourself kind of in alignment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So creating a structure for my day. Number one is, like, I like to try to wake up early. Am I perfect at it every day? No, but am I doing my best? One thing you taught me is, actually, I think you got this from Tom Bilyeu, is like, is it a 10-second count? Once you wake up, you got to get up and out in 10 seconds, not hit that snooze, not let that snooze button beat you. But from studies all across time, right? Way back when, some of your most successful people were waking up right around the 5 a.m. mark, and it gives you just a time to um, think, reflect, beat most people up, and then I like to get moving right away. I like to get my meditation on right away, and envisioning things, working on my mind movie, and then just something that um, like, I want to focus on, what do I want out of my future, and just, thinking really hard. And I spend my first hour of the day like that. And then other than that, like, I try to structure my day around like skills I need to learn for my business, meeting up with clients, and then also just finding time to have fun, get outside and enjoy this little bit of downtime we have, without, sitting around being lazy all day and watching Netflix. Right. And I think that's going to beat a lot of people up.
It does, because they don't even know that they're falling into sort of a depressive hole. And I think Tony Robbins says happiness is progress or something. He
Hmm.
correlates something like that, like happiness and progress. And when we're sitting, like watching movies is cool for like 2 days, but then you're like, okay, what am I? I'm not progressing in anything. Like even after a weekend like that, you're kind of ready to get back to work Monday and keep progressing. So I agree with you on that. And I've actually talked to a couple of my clients who are like kind of stir crazy because they're not progressing even in their businesses. They don't even like know where to start. um,
Yeah.
Talk to me
This
about
is,
Mind Movie in a minute. Go first.
ooh, a mind movie. I've been using those too. Um, so we were kind of talking about, you mentioned that some of your clients are struggling, like in the business area. And this is a hard financial time for a lot of people. And this is where like anxiety kicks in, fear and worry. And this is again where it comes into, like, you have to take action sometimes to change your state. Right. Sometimes like meditation isn't going to do it for somebody. Right. So when you do go walking, like walking helps because it changes your state, right? Where you're mentally at. so you got to look at this as like a really unique opportunity for you to be able to learn a new skill set and make a pivot inside of your business so you can, make money. So like right now, like here's the time to learn how to market on Facebook, because everybody is sitting at home scrolling through Instagram and Facebook because they are bored senseless. So now you have a time to put your product, put your offer, whatever in front of them. I think so. That's one thing like a business needs to learn is like, how can I, like, especially if you're brick and mortar, how can you take things online? And also just realize like a lot of the greatest things that have like been made have come from times when people were like shut down. My buddy showed me a really cool post. I think Newton came up with something during the bubonic plague. I think Fender happened during the crash in the 1930s. And just a lot of great things have come from people being quarantined. Now is a great time to sit and think and solve problems, right? And not think about the problem, but think about a solution. So that's what I would focus on if I was someone. But again, it sounds simple in concept. It's really hard to execute on.
Yeah, structure is tough. Structure is very tough, but it's like keeping it, because one day you guys will be going back to work and you're going to have to get up. So you don't want to have to go from 8 a.m. to 5 a.m., waking up
Oh
in the
yeah.
morning and like trying to restart a whole new structure. And it's going to feel like it sucks to go back to work. So if while you're at home, you can find a structure, at least in the first, little bit of your day. And I know that you know this, like if you set up your morning right, chances are the rest of your day is going to be a little bit more disciplined and go a little bit more your way, versus if you wake up and you're just doing whatever, the rest of your day is probably going to be whatever.
Yep. You're
Yeah.
building habits one way or the other right now. Like that's what people need to realize. They need to sit and think about it like, okay, what am I building for myself? And do I want the rest of my life to look like this? If the answer is no, make small changes, right? Not everything, one thing, right? Until you get that into routine and get that into habit, and then, continue to make adjustments from there. But you want to talk about a mind movie a little bit. Do you use one?
I don't know. Well, I heard you mention that and I was like, I know visualization, but to be honest, I've been thinking about what do I want to manifest? Because and that's been actually really hard. Like, where do I want to live? So I mean, Colorado's beautiful and I do love it here, but like if I could pick, it would be California in the
Yeah.
redwoods, in the
Yeah.
forest. That is the
Yeah.
only place I want to go. I've lived in Florida. I know what it's like to be hot. I've lived cold, and and I went to the mountains yesterday, and I kind of got a little bit of my words handed to me because it's beautiful in the mountains in Colorado. But there's
Yes.
something about the trees, and there's something about it not really snowing
Yeah.
that really lights me up. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to be away from my family. Well, like if I don't go back to Florida and I'm going to be literally on the other side of the continent, and is that what I want to create? So I'm really excited to get into your mind movie because I'm kind of having a block here.
Oh no, that's great. I'm glad you feel like a lot of the same ways I do. I was really careful picking it out on like what do I want to manifest and what do I want to have, because obviously as I go through and watch this my movie, I'm feeling elevated emotions of like gratitude, hopefully love, which is even a higher frequency, and I'm able to visualize myself like with these photos. So the mind movie is something I got from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I have used a vision board before. I'm actually looking at one right in front of me. And as cool as it is, there's no music to it. There's no movement through it. So with the My Movie, I just thought of one. I made two. I made one of what I want to happen this year, very specifically, and I put subliminal messages on it. So it's really light text. I'm not sitting there and like trying to read it. I'm letting these photos flow, and I'm just trying to think about me standing in front of this photo and feeling and smelling and having all this go on. I'm putting music to it that makes me feel a certain way. Some of my favorite songs. But before I even go into it, one thing I do is I watch a kaleidoscope video on YouTube with some, really chill music, and I'm learning to slow my brain waves down, right? And when my brain waves are slowed down, I'm more, it's easier to affect my subconscious, right? It's easier to be programmed at this sense. Then, which is when I go into watch my mind movie, and what I think about is like, what kind of car do I want to drive? What kind of house do I want to live in? What kind of job do I want to have? What am I creating? So one thing I would tell you is I was really freaked out about the car, right? Because like I'm a car guy, I like
Yeah.
cars. I was like, dude, what if I just manifest a car I don't really want anymore? But like for you, from being away from family, I think one easy solution is like make a substantial amount of money and have freedom with your time so that you can fly and work from anywhere, and like finances isn't an issue, and you can be with your family as much as you want, but also be in an awesome spot. So that's one thing I would think about if I was you. It's just like, okay, like how do I solve other problems with manifesting stuff?
Right. Like, how could I do both?
Hmm.
And still okay, because that feels good to me, because I do want to travel. And like, and that's another thing. I'm like, well, if I get a house in California, I'm going to be a slave to my mortgage and not be able to do shit. But I need to be like, kind of get away from limiting beliefs, and just be like, what do I actually want to create? Because, and I love how you said you were careful, because like when you start manifesting and you start doing mind movies and visualization, that shit works. So you have to be, it's
Yeah.
almost like a scary thing to pick something to manifest, because like it's probably going to work. So you need to be careful
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. I think if it's always better than the situation you're in right now, and if it works, like here's the cool part. Like if you, for whatever reason, manifested something you didn't want, which is what a lot of people are doing in their lives anyways, with some of their habits and what they have going on. I guarantee people want better jobs and will, unfortunately, some people might want a different spouse. Like there's a lot of things, like you've already manifested that. So like, what's the worst that could happen? You can manifest a better situation than what you're in right now. And if you ultimately change and you have a different desire, well, you just showed yourself you had the ability to create whatever you want in life. Make another mind movie, go for it again, right? um, Life is short and long at the same time, and there's always plenty of opportunity. So I think the biggest thing to do is just like take action. Don't be held back by fear like that.
Yeah, I love that. And now, so creating the mind movie, is this like a slideshow that you create on an app, or is it something that you, how do you, how do you make this mind? Because at first I thought it was going to be more of a visualization exercise.
Yeah, so great question. I use iMovie. I know there's actually a mindmovie.com. Dr. Joe Dispenza really recommends it. Just didn't feel like paying for it because I played on iMovie before and I know how to do it. So what I did is like I just thought about like what do I want? Like, I want to travel. So I found like photos of specific areas in the world that I want to travel. A lot of them are like beaches and exotic spots, but it makes it really easy as I'm sitting and watching this My Movie to picture myself as a person holding the camera. What does that air smell like? What does the wind feel like? Like good do I feel when I'm there? So I just found a bunch of photos, right? And I just put them together. And my mind movie's like 2 minutes for like 2020, and then 2025. I want to have some other things that I want set up by then.
Mhm.
So that's just what I do. I give each photo like 4 to 5 seconds, and like I said, a really light text. I don't try to read it. I just try to stare and feel, and that's it. Like nothing too crazy.
And I love that you do the kaleidoscope first, and you bring, is it a theta state? You bring your mind into a theta state.
I believe it's almost even getting it into, man, I really wish I would have just studied my book before I jumped on, but like gamma almost. But I know theta is what you can get into in the shower, which is where people really have good ideas come to them if they haven't noticed that. Like they think really well in the shower, brain's a lot more relaxed, brain waves aren't working as high. But I think you get them into a gamma state when you basically, it's almost like hypnotizing yourself, right? Like it's super slowed down. I notice I'm like really drawn into it, and then I just make that quick flip over, and I'm just super calm, right? Like there's not a lot of thoughts flowing through my head. I'm just breathing. So
Mm.
anything you can do to slow yourself down, essentially.
Right, because then you don't block whatever you're trying to be open and receive. Because sometimes when we're in our monkey mind, we block what somebody's saying right to our face, versus like,
Oh,
let alone trying to focus and watch a thing, our mind's going to be elsewhere. So I like really love that idea. So like a kaleidoscope of colors, or like fractals, or
yeah. So I like to do. So Dr. Joe Dispenza was talking about this in his book. It took him like 2 years to make this thing because, like, obviously with kaleidoscopes, everything's 3D and maybe even 4D. So like when you're watching a video, you don't want it to be very flat. You want it to, you want it to change. But all I do is I type in Dr. Joe Dispenza kaleidoscope,
cool.
and a video pulls right up. It's like 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Yeah, right with the timing. And I just watch that for about, 3 to 5 minutes. And once I'm in my mood, I watch my mind movie. I go into my breath work, and then I meditate. So
Cool. R-
yeah.
Breath work now. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
It's a breathing technique I got again from this book. And I'm telling you guys, this book is full of immense value. It's like 300 pages. So there's the plug for Dr. Joe. But yeah, it's basically moving energy throughout your body, right? So a lot of people are stuck in their lower three chakras. So what you do is you first start by flexing basically your gooch, right? You give it a good hold,
Good.
and
That's what it
then
is.
you breathe in and you hold. And what you want to imagine is that energy is flowing up to the top of your head, right? And you're going to hold that breath for like 10 seconds if you can. So I do 3 there, and then I do that same muscle and then my lower abs. So I try to continuously bring it up, right? And it's not easy. It's a little hard to master at first. And then, so you do those 2 muscles, and then you just do all your core. in that same level, and you bring it all the way up and you hold for 10 seconds. And after that, your energy flows a little bit better. You kind of try to move that because, a lot of people are stuck there based off the emotions that they feel.
Mhm.
And it gives you a chance to open up your other chakras that, might potentially be blocked or not getting as much of your energy as they could or should.
Because fight or flight is all more like the lower three. But when you start
Yep.
to get into the heart, throat, third eye, and crown, you're more vibrationally aware. You're less in your primal, like fight or flight type stuff. So you're able to like be more cerebral.
Yep, exactly. You're going
Okay.
from a sympathetic state to parasympathetic, right? Those three are all survival. They're all ego. They're all like, primitive, like you just spoke. So and then the other ones are very high frequency, higher vibrations. And those are obviously the things that you want to emit. But it's a lot harder for people. And again, he talks about being stuck in a familiar past and a predictable future because you're
Yeah.
feeling the same emotions you do every single day, which obviously leads to the same future every single day. So you obviously have to do things to shake it up. And it takes work.
Yeah. And thinking of shaking it up, do you think psychedelics would have a good like shake up moment for you?
Oh yeah, I think it would be really great. I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of them, and just allowing you to. That's a great state changer without really having to do much work, right? And um, you get to see the world in a lot different way. You get to feel it in a lot different way, and you can run around in a very elevated, euphoric, state, and like realize like you can live a lot of your life like this if you so choose to do so, and it shows you what's possible. So I'm a big fan of it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be scary for people because it's so different.
Mhm.
But again, it's like how open-minded are you?
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
Open minded. And so the last time that I tripped, I think it was LSD, like the last time I did LSD, I came up with this thing and I'm like, psychedelics are only scary if you want to remain the same. Be-
absolutely.
Because even a micro dose of mushrooms, like a little, that will have you connecting, like to me it connects to the oneness of everything, so it kind of like, and it makes you want to be a better person, and like all of these different things kind of happen um in a psychedelic state that I think is almost like a good state changer right away, and then you're like, all right, how can I work backwards and do this in my everyday life? And to the point about meditation, people have been able to go into really deep meditative states and have a psychedelic experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've come out of meditations feeling like that sometimes. I mean, speaking of LSD, I think I did it. What's today? Tuesday. I did it Sunday, so I
Yeah,
just did it recently. Yeah.
how was
And
it?
what I Oh, it was great. I had a great time. Lots of giggles, lots of fun, lots of connections. I think one of the easiest things was instead of humans is like dogs. You can like really feel their energy a lot better. You can see how connected they are to you. You can go outside and just play outside and see patterns, see colors, just see a lot of different things. And it's like, okay, this is actually like really around me because we talk about it. There's a lot of different dimensions. We're only seeing one because we're stuck at a certain vibration or frequency, where love or a higher frequency is something in 5D. It has other things available to you to go ahead and see and perceive, but since we don't sit there, we don't realize it.
Yeah. And when you can see the world that way, you have such a different view on the world and on your experience as a human, like playing in this universe. I feel like they like take the veil off, right? And then you become grateful for the trees and your dogs, and like you start to see things in a totally different way. So
Yeah,
I'm
I think
glad
you
that
take
you
Yeah, I think you take everything a lot less serious, right? Like, yeah, like it's great to work and play, but like play is super important, and just like being able to experience things because like nobody knows what happens after this. So yeah, just being open up to that stuff and get to have some of those experiences as a human, I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, you just got to go in it with open mind and like no fear, right? Like
yeah,
that's it. I think
just
fear
be
is
open.
yeah, fear is one of the things that can make that bad. But going into open and just ready for whatever, I think we'll make it a really good time.
I agree. And fear is like the quickest way to the dark side, like they say in Star Wars. And so I feel like if you have a lot of fear going on in your brain, obviously it can lead to more fear, or it'll do the total opposite. Like if you go and you have like I don't want to say a bad trip, like a difficult trip where you're really faced with some of your inner demons and stuff like that, chances are you're going to come out a little bit more enlightened about the way that you live your life and the way that you treat other people. Um, yeah. And,
Yeah,
and yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, they say like smooth seas don't make great sailors, right? Like sometimes you have to face that, and like you got to think about some of the most difficult times in your life have made you to be the person you are, and they've taught you some of the strongest and best lessons about yourself. So when you do have those, like maybe it's whoever, whatever it is in your mind, is just trying to show you and teach you something. So, you need to be appreciative of that too.
Right, right. And so this is more of like a personal opinion, but of the psychedelics that you've tried, what's your fave?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I feel like LSD is really easy to stay on the roller coaster and always have a good time. Magic mushrooms can be pretty on and off. And ayahuasca can be very, very, very intense. So I would say LSD. It's super chill. You can always have a good time. It mixes well with, like, if you like to, smoke weed or whatever it may be. That's a great thing to mix into there to make sure that, like, you always have a calm, chill vibe. So that'd be my go-to if I was someone. But I mean, I have some of the best times on mushrooms, but like they can be hit or miss. And like I said, they can be on and off. So it's just like, what is it that you want when you go into it?
Yeah, I agree. I think LSD can be a little bit more cerebral, thinking outside the box, figuring things out, getting some clarity. Where mushrooms, like, they're going to teach you what they're going to teach you. So just hold on to your seat and sometimes just connecting to your inner child. For me, mushrooms are a little bit more spiritual.
Hmm.
Um, LSD tends to be more cerebral for me.
Yep. Definitely that. Definitely that.
Okay.
I love, I just love, like, the patterns, the colors, and everything from LSD too. And, and I think it's just because also on mushrooms, I've had some of my hardest trips. So, I think I just lean towards LSD because it's always more of a good time.
Yeah, that I could see that. And to the patterns, like, that was like one of the things that showed me that God was in everything. Because and Ram Dass, I don't know if you've listened to Ram Dass, but I think you'd really freaking like him. He was. Do you know who Ram Dass is? You do.
No, but I can Google it because I'm on my computer. So continue on.
Dude, he's so dope. He died a little while ago. He was a spiritual leader. Him and Timothy Leary were working at, I think it was Harvard. I'm not sure. I think it was Harvard. They were doing psychedelic experiments, like psychology experiments, and they eventually ended up getting fired. And then he started off as Richard Albert, I think, and then went to India, met a guru. He was kind of into psychedelics and meditation, and came back, Ram Dass. And he was, I have some lectures to send you. He's the fucking man. And he's all about oneness and compassion. And he's funny and witty, and he'll make you laugh and then deliver like a really pretty profound lesson.
I
But
love
he
it.
started off as a Harvard professor. So like this dude who's speaking spiritual, who has this big long beard, is like, has this background behind him. But he said his first psychedelic experiment was his first whiff of God, and then he
Okay.
was off.
He was hooked since. Yeah. No, I think that's a very fair statement. Very fair statement.
Like the fingerprint of God. And if you think back to like Aborigine times, or times when people were just like drinking ayahuasca, like thousands and thousands of years ago, however long people were around, they've been taking mushrooms and doing psychedelics for a while.
Shout
Like,
out to those guys, by the way, too. Like, for finding that stuff. Those guys are crazy. They're just eating and drinking whatever and then having a blast. So good for them.
yeah, and they say that the plants told them to do it, which I love even more. But I think I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he said this is like, if we didn't know, if we back in time, like, they didn't know that this was a magic mushroom that they were taking, or LSD, but what you were seeing, I mean, what else would you think it would be than God? Like,
Yeah.
how else would you consider those visions, and like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
I mean, it's coming straight from nature, right? And obviously, we know we're all connected to nature and somebody had to make it. So that makes total sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Zach, this has been so great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on, and I miss your face, and we should hang
Yeah.
out sometime soon. And Kenzie, oh,
For
I was going to
sure.
ask you about relationship. We'll do relationship stuff next time with Kenzie and stuff like
Cool.
that.
I
All
dig
right.
it.
Yeah, dude. So thank you for all your value and everything that you have told us today. And if people, where can they find you? And like, what, like,
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at underscore ZAC, or it's actually at ZAC underscore NOX. I don't post on there too much, guys. I do apologize, but if you like good music and if you like just, looking at nature and having fun and seeing what we're hiking or where we're hiking, you can follow me there. But other than that, I mean, that's my main platform. I try to stay off social media too much, but I try to drop some bombs there, let you guys know what I'm reading, maybe some workouts, things of this sort. So that's where they can find me. But I hope from this podcast, what they get and what they realize is, like, you can work and play at the same time, right? And you can have fun, and you can build yourself trying to have fun. So Dani, I really appreciate you bringing me on. Hopefully we brought some value to some people, maybe made them laugh, maybe made them smile, and maybe made them curious to try some new things and open up their mind. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's been wonderful. And for people, if in case they want business coaching, is Instagram a good way to hit you up?
Yeah, you can hit me up there, or you can just reach to me at Zac, ZAC, at thefitnesscodecollective.com, right? So
Okay.
if you are a fitness business owner, quickest plug I can tell you is, we're going to handle all your marketing. We're going to bring something that's unique to the table for you and represent you in the right way, not just some generic plan. We're going to help you with your sales process to make sure you make the most out of everything that we do for you, and just help you on the inside of your business, looking at how you structured it, how you pay your employees, and just how everything's set up so you can get the most out of your business and your life.
Oh, awesome. Zac, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate everybody joining the Light Side today. And until next time, peace.